Hey gardeners! Part 2 of transforming my yard into our garden. Today I'm going to be working on tomato mounds. So right now I have just kind of dirt laid out on the ground, and I need to go through and organize that and make that the kind of mounds that I'm looking for. So I'll kind of just show a before and after of my progress for the sake of the length of this video. So this is a before. Day 8, I am going to continue working on the tomato mounds. So we've been scraping the clay smooth around the mounds and kind of packing the slices of clay that we're basically scraping off the surface against the edges of the mounds to create a clay wall that will help with erosion and also keeping water on the inside. Do you wanna? So these like different pieces of clay is what we've been scraping clean, so it's a nice flat surface. It feels good to walk on barefoot. Starting to get calluses, blisters on my hands.
Poor thing.
Day 9, we are going to keep working on the tomato mounds. So as you can see, we've got Cam standing by some that are already made. So we're a handful of days into hardening off all of the plants I had in the grow tent, and they got a really heavy rain, which was good because I needed to water them today, but now I don't. We've got a few instances of leaf burn. It's where the sun literally gives a sunburn to the leaves. But for the most part, everything's looking pretty good. It held up really nicely in the rain. And we're getting there. So we have an update on how the water settles after it rains. We get some puddling right in here, which means we're gonna have to, I mean, this area is not even finished yet. This is gonna be teepees. So we will clear this so the water will be able to drain better down that way. That's kind of the tricky part about what we're doing when we scrape all this clay. We need to make sure there's adequate runoff so we don't get puddles like this every time it rains. It's beautiful out here. Today I am going to put the tomato mounds on pause for a minute and work on the bean teepees. I'm gonna start by moving all these sticks and these like piles of dirt. I'm gonna move all that out of the way, and I'm gonna see how big my teepee is gonna be when I place them here, and I'm gonna take this dirt to form it in a horseshoe shape around where the teepee is gonna be and all the beans are gonna be planted. So here's before. We got rained on.
out there working on it. But we got one of the teepees done. So I started talking about no mow May to Colin, and one day when I'm at work, he comes out here and starts mowing the grass. And we're in May, and it's kind of a cosmic justice that he hit something and broke our lawnmower temporarily. So we now have a beautiful pathway around the perimeter of the yard, but the whole entire middle has not been mowed, and we are still getting dandelions and little yellow flowers and violets and all of the other blooms that would have been chopped down by the mower. So our backyard is still a safe haven for bees. This is what I got completed the other night, partway through with the help of Colin. Little pathway in between that needs better drainage, so we'll have to dig that out right here. And the next two teepees are going to be right here. One right there and one right there. All right, so I'm going to turn in for the night. I didn't quite finish the new mounds for the beans, but I got close enough. Right now it's all just too muddy and globby to really do anything with. So got a good start, and then once the soil dries a little bit better, it'll be easier to finish it up. I got some reinforcement today for building these mounds. My dad stopped by to help me. So we got this mound finished and both of those mounds for melons. Hey gardeners! I brought in more backup today. So Colin and my cousin Colin are working on the pepper mounds. I'm about to go out to a dinner, but as you can see behind me, they are flipping the sod upside down, just like that mound back there. That's how this one started out, and they're just kind of making it a more smooth, cohesive mound. This is my cousin Colin. Hello. Colin squared, double Colin. Hey gardeners. Today, Colin and I are going to finish up our pepper mounds, hopefully to have them ready for transplant either this evening or tomorrow evening. So yesterday, Colin, my partner, and Colin and my cousin finished up shaping out this mound, breaking up all the really big pieces of clay, and just creating this big mound for peppers. And they got about half of this one finished. So you can see what the whole thing looked like before. It was just like big chunks of sod that needed to be flipped upside down and broken up to make a more rounded, consistent mound. Hey, what's up?
5.
Taking a 5. It's a comfy looking chair you've got there.
It's the only chair I've got.
So last night we put out the first of our peppers for their first night in their new home, and they all seem to be doing pretty great. So since these mounds have a lot of clay in them, it's really hard for roots to develop. So we decided to dig some holes. So Colin's been digging these holes because I'm physically too weak to dig them. And then I'm getting loose topsoil and mixing it with leaf compost, and I'm filling in the holes so the peppers will have an easier start for rooting, and it'll be pretty nutritious for them, obviously.
Today, Cam and I planted the rest of the peppers in this mound. We also leveled out and planted our kale. Hi, pretty.
Okay. So we've got the 4 scarlet kale and the 6 dinosaur kale.
Hey gardeners. So today I planted all of the seeds for my different zucchini and squash plants.
Okay, so I dug a hole in the center of each mound and put in loose topsoil mixed with leaf compost. So then the pathway will be in the middle, and you see the sign on each of the mounds along the inside of the pathway. So these 3 are the same, those 3 are the same, and those 3 are the same. Bush zucchini, Nimba zucchini, Caserta zucchini, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Obviously the crookneck summer squash, straight neck summer squash, and little patty pan summer squash. I want 3 healthy plants for each mound. So I planted 5 seeds just in case we have some that aren't viable. But if all 5 seeds that I planted germinate and sprout, then I will choose the 3 best once they've got their true leaves.
And I also planted the onion bulbs for my onion and kale mound. I went to a garden center and bought 3 pounds of little tiny onion bulbs that are about that big.
Each onion is about 6 inches apart, and they're all yellow sweet onions. So kale and onions do really good together. They're companion plants. The onions don't need too much sunlight, so they're allowed to be close underneath the kale like that. The kale will get a lot bigger and obviously branch out and cast a pretty big shadow, but the onions don't mind.
So this concludes part 2 of transforming our yard into the garden. Stay tuned for part 3, where we will wrap everything up and have the entire garden ready and set for growing. We'll see you next time, and don't forget, sometimes you have to be planted down into darkness and rained on for a little while before you are able to bloom and shine. Happy gardening.